Ever wonder what goes on inside your brain? The part of your body that controls everything and anything you do? Well, let's take a closer look. Let's start with the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex is the folded gray part of your brain and is broken up into 4 lobes. The first lobe is located in the front of your brain and is called the frontal lobe. It is associated with the motor cortex and controls things such as writing and running, and planning and even language. Next, we have the parietal lobe, which is associated with the somatosensory cortex. The parietal lobe allows you to understand what things are and where things are. It also allows you to perceive somatosensory information, such as pain, temperature, or touch. Thirdly, we have the temporal lobe, which is located at the bottom of the brain. The temporal lobe is associated with the auditory cortex, and it mostly deals with the ability to hear language. However, its functions also include face recognition and emotional reactions. Lastly, there's the occipital lobe, which is in the back of the brain. The occipital lobe is associated with visual cortex. It allows you to see. More specifically, it allows you to see color and what objects are. Next, we have some more important structures of the brain. First, you have your amygdala, which is located in the front of your brain and deals with anger and aggression. Then you have the thalamus, which is located in the middle of the brain and is the switchboard for your brain. It relays impulses from the body to the cerebral cortex and filters what information is relayed for processing. Then you have your cerebellum, which is located in the bottom of your brain and deals with posture and balance. Then you have the hypothalamus, which is in the front of your brain and deals with the 4 F's: food or hunger, flight or fight, which is a reaction to danger or stress, and fornication, which is pleasure. Next, you have your hippocampus, which is in the front middle of your brain and is where your memories are formed. Then you have the medulla, which is on top of the spinal cord and controls your heartbeat. If the medulla is injured, it will cause death. Lastly, you have your corpus callosum, which is directly in between the 2 hemispheres. It acts as a bridge between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere and allows the 2 hemispheres to work together. There are also 3 notable areas in the language cortex located in the left hemisphere. The first is Broca's area, which controls speaking. The second is Wernicke's area, which controls language comprehension. And the third is angular gyrus, which controls the ability to read aloud. Next, we'll move on to the research of split brain. Split brain is where you cut the corpus callosum directly in half so that the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere are no longer connected. Each hemisphere is mainly connected to the opposite part of the body. So, the left hemisphere is connected to the right side of the body, and the right hemisphere is connected to the left side of the body. It's important to know the main functions of each hemisphere. The left hemisphere is used mostly for logic and language, while the right hemisphere is used mostly for spatial thinking, such as putting a car into a parking spot or fitting clothes into a suitcase. Usually, the 2 hemispheres work together to perform tasks. However, in a split brain patient, it's like the hemispheres work as 2 separate brains. For example, if an object is placed in the left hand of a split brain patient, could the patient name it? No, because the left hand is controlled by the right hemisphere, and alone, the right hemisphere cannot control language. Split brain research allows us to see the different functions of the 2 hemispheres, left, logic and language, right, spatial thinking, and how the 2 hemispheres, when connected, work together to perform basic functions. Now, we'll learn about the different tools of discovery that psychologists use to study and understand the brain. The EEG machine has wires that attach to someone's head. These wires are able to detect neurons in the brain all at once, and the doctors are able to see the electrical activity in the brain. An EEG machine is useful to study seizure disorders. A PET scan can show doctors the amount of glucose in the neurons. It can detect tumors and seizures. Lesions are made by destroying a part of an animal or human's brain. Based on how the animal or human acts after the procedure, doctors can infer what function of the part of the brain they destroyed has. Stimulation to the brain allows doctors to learn the functions of different parts of the brain. They use electrical currents to observe the brain and also observe the pleasure and punishment part of the brain. Stimulation can be used to help relieve cancer patients from pain. Case studies are performed to try to find specific functions for specific brain regions or structures of the brain. One of the most famous case studies is the one of Phineas Gage. While working on the railroads, a mistake in communication caused a metal rod to shoot up through Phineas Gage's mouth and out his frontal lobe. While the rod didn't kill him, it did alter his behavior and personality, showing us that the part of the area the rod shot through deals with personality. Another famous case study is the case study of H.M. H.M. is a man who went through surgery for treatment of epilepsy. The surgery would remove most of the hippocampus, where we now know memories are formed. And the surgery resulted in H.M. having an almost impossible time storing new memories, especially long-term. At the time, many believed memory was stored throughout the cerebral cortex. In this case, proved them wrong. Case studies are important when learning about the brain because they teach us that specific parts of the brain have specific functions and perform specific tasks, and damage to these parts of the brain will alter normal activities. Now we'll move on to neurons and the nervous system. The nervous system is the network of nervous cells, or neurons, that transmit nerve impulses between parts of the body, tells parts of the body what to do and when to do them. The basic structure of a neuron is dendrites, cell body or soma, axon, and axon terminals. The dendrites detect signals from other nerve cells and carry them to the cell body or soma. The cell body contains the nucleus, which controls the whole function of the cell. Then the axon carries these signals that the dendrites gave to the cell body to other cells. And the axon terminals have synaptic vessels, which transmit signals from one cell to the next. You can think of neural communication in the nervous system like dominoes. When neurons are in their resting period, they're like dominoes when they're standing upright. When neurons are in their action period, they're like dominoes when the dominoes are falling down. And then when neurons are in the refractory period, they're like dominoes when the dominoes are being reset. And just like dominoes, neurons can either all fire or all fall, or not fire at all, or not fall at all. Now we're going to talk about the teen brain. The teen brain is extremely different than the brain of an adult because your brain as a teen is still growing every day. You have connected parts and unconnected parts, which makes you a lot more vulnerable to impulsive behavior without the hormones and genetic conditions. There's also been research done on relation between the teen brain and technology. Because our brain is still growing, the great amount of technology we use alters our personality and lifestyle. We have become more dependent on technology than our own brains.